All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the stream. It's day 2 of the Alliance Open event here at the Van der Valk Hotel. The room is filled with people playing 40k and playing Age of Sigmar. Everybody's having a good time, and what we've got for you in store right now is the final game of the Alliance Open Age of Sigmar Grand Tournament. This one's for all the marbles, folks. In a moment the players will arrive at the table and we'll start setting up. Fabian's going to join me in the booth. We're going to talk about the game we've got for you in store, about the players, about their lists, and then we're going to head on into the game itself. It promises to be a good one. I thought the last game was very amusing to see as well. Actually, the very first Age of Sigmar game we have streamed as of yet, and I gotta say I'm taking a liking to it. It's a step in a different direction from 40k. Of course, it's a game that shares its maker with 40k, but it's definitely something else. Plays just a little bit differently, and to be quite frank, Age of Sigmar, or Warhammer Fantasy, as it used to be called, is where my roots lie. Back in the day, I started with Orcs and Goblins. Came across a little club just because I was strolling through Dordrecht downtown, and saw these guys playing this awesome game, and wanted to know more. So I stepped into the club one time, and I never stopped coming. And that was the humble beginnings of my Warhammer journey. So Fabio?
Yeah, it definitely is. The winner of this game takes the first prize. These are the only guys that have 4 wins so far. Though that being said, there are a lot of people in the run for second place. So it's for all the glory this round, and we'll see what happens. It's exciting, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely is. So why don't we start with the players?
Yes.
Because I've got them set up over here. So it's going to be Benjamin Sava, which was on stream last game.
Yes.
So these are the very first 2 streams of the Alliance Open event, which covers Age of Sigmar, and it has Ben in both of them. So he's making a big debut for himself on the stream, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we've been through his list, but for good form, let's go through it again anyway.
Yeah.
For maybe the new people just tuning in. So Ben is bringing Boneplitterz, and as I've seen last game, and I've been talking to him a little bit, Boneplitterz are doing pretty well for themselves in the
they definitely are.
Tournament scene.
He is playing a very control-heavy army. As we have seen last game, he controls the board, not allowing his opponent to retreat, forcing his opponent to charge him, having quite a few wounds with all of his models. At least 2 on each. He's got 30. He's got a battle line units of 30. A unit of 37 Savage Orcs. And 3 units of 10. So he's got 60 orcs running around, and they all have 2 wounds. Yeah.
So effectively, there's like 120 orcs running around.
Pretty much. He has 4 War Dogs, which are just buff bots to the max.
Yep.
The Savage Big Boss, which is required for one of his battalions, which will allow the big unit of 30 and the unit of 10 Boar Boys to run and charge.
Yeah.
Which is it's good. It gives him so much speed to his name, and with +2 to charge on almost all Savage units.
They have an innate +2 to charge?
They're
like
musician.
their banner or the musician.
The musician allows it. And then there's those 8 big stabbers that are just they're so dangerous.
Yep.
They will touch something and it dies.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like you explained it last stream as well. It's like a 4-wound model.
Yeah.
It has 3 attacks.
Yeah, I believe it's 3 attacks.
3 attacks. Innately hitting on 3s? Or 4s?
3s. 3s to wounds, -2 D3 damage.
But so they're pretty deadly onto themselves. Because 3s and 3s is pretty good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that's a solid
Rend
stat line.
2, really solid.
Yeah.
D3 damage, pretty solid as well. Maybe a bit swingy, but because he's got 8, it tends to average out. Because you know, the more D3s you roll,
Yeah.
the more it tends to average out. But that's not the only thing. The trick is that he puts them down and then he starts buffing them with all the characters. So with the war dogs give +1 to hit. if I'm not mistaken.
I believe one of them does indeed give +1 to hit. And there are several buffs going on here. Breath of Porca Morca gives a unit double move, and fly, or even triple move if he rolls doubles.
Okay.
There's one of his spells which will also allow +1 to hit. There's a spell that allows +1 to save. There's so much going on here that he brings a usually 5-up save units, often to a 3-up save. That's really good.
Yeah. So definitely against 30 of those guys with 2 wounds. So he's got multiple things that give +1 to hit. I already asked you last round, but so say you have a spell that gives +1 to hit, and then you have an ability with a different name that gives +1 to hit. Those two would stack, right?
Those two would stack.
But you can't stack abilities with the same name.
Yeah.
No, but he'll be giving his 30 Savage Orcs +1 to hit, and then he'll probably be giving the. Because Savage Orcs hit on a 4-up, or they hit on a 3-up?
Yeah, they hit on a 4-up.
So
usually.
they would benefit from getting +2 to hit, because
Yeah.
then they go down to 2. The Stabbers only need +1 to hit, because then they go down to 2-up, and you can't get better than a 2-up.
Exactly.
So they become really accurate and really damaging. So really cool. So aside from that, he's got the endless spell, the Penumbral Engine.
Which is a terrain feature he brought with him. He actually told me that a buddy of him challenged him to make a list that included that because his friend thinks it's just shit.
Garbage, okay.
And he brought it to this tournament. He's not had much use out of it, but it helps. Though points-wise, model-wise, he is playing 100 points less than his opponent every game.
Yeah.
Because it does cost 100 points to bring that.
What does it do?
It switches quite randomly, but it either has a 12-inch aura of rerolling save rolls of 1, or it gives an extra command point.
How many points is it to feel? Oh, 100.
100.
How much unit? All right. So for the basically, he sacrifices, let's say, 10 orc boys, a little bit more. To put in the.
He loses about 10 savage orcs.
Yeah. And it either gives him reroll ones to hit, reroll ones for saves, or it gives him an extra command point. So interesting. It doesn't look. I mean, an extra command point is pretty okay, right?
Yeah.
So,
and well, if you can put that terrain piece down advantageously, even though the re-rolling save rolls of 1 can be really nice if you bring a unit up to a 3-up save, for example.
Yeah. So that's Benjamin's list. Then we have Tom from AOS Rotterdam, bringing his Fyreslayers.
Yeah, Fyreslayers, Angry Dwarfs, they are amazing. They are tough, and they have a lot of damage. Their damage output is off the charts. Their only downside really is their movement. Let's be honest, it's their movements. They only move 4 regularly, though they do have one of their runes which they can use once per game to give them themselves +2 to move. So that can speed them up quite a bit. One of their usual sub-factions is also allows them to run 6 just automatically first turn, which and then 4 command points still be able to charge after that. So they can suddenly move 12.
Oh, okay, wow. So they're speedy dwarves.
Yeah, possibly.
Very dangerous over long distances, apparently.
Yeah, though I believe that Tom did not bring that particular lodge.
It doesn't really say what lodge he's bringing.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
I am somewhat assuming then that he chose not to take a large.
Is there any advantage to not taking a lot?
Yeah, the larges have a specific command trait for the 40k players that's equivalent to a warlord trait, and an extra artifact, so that you have to take first.
Okay.
So that is a slight downside.
Yeah, you have to take the artifact that's in the
large first, as well as the command trait. So those are kind of fixed.
Okay, so he might not want those then.
Yeah,
exactly.
It
might be like a general trait or a relic that he wants to pick.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah. So he's got 10 full kite berserkers, which are the dual hand axes.
Yeah, those are the basic battle line. Not terrible, not super great either. Just really good point fillers.
Yeah, and then he's got 2 units of 20 Hearthguard berserkers.
Yeah.
Which are the throwing axis ones?
No. These guys wield massive weapons. It's either big broad axes that just cut through everything, -1 rend on their own, 2 damage each.
Oh, nice.
And the other unit has the pole arms, which possibly do mortal wounds. On 6s to hit, they do 2 additional mortal wounds.
Yeah.
But they don't have a rend on only 1 damage, so that's their downside. So if you have a unit that is really tough, for example the 3-up save unit that Ben might buff up to, he would throw the pole arms into that to fish for the mortal wounds.
Okay.
And see if he can bring it down that way.
All right, really nice.
And that's the thing with the Hearthguard berserkers as well, is that the broad axes, for example, have 2 damage each. That's a dead orc.
That's nice.
Per hit.
Yeah.
2 attacks each. That's a really solid stat line.
Every hit that goes through is a dead orc. Yeah, that's true. And then it's 10 Auric Hearthguard. Those are the shooting ones, right?
Yeah, those are the shooting ones. They wield big
flamers.
They wield
like
pretty much flamers. They shoot okay. They do extra damage against monsters, but Ben didn't bring any, so that might be a bit of a downside. But it does provide with some backline holding, allowing range superiority, which is always nice.
Okay, well, and then he's got Magnic Invocation. What does that mean? Zargon Flamespitter.
Yeah, that's the endless spell for Fyreslayers, because they don't have wizards. They instead get endless prayers, if you will.
Okay.
And the Zargon Flamespitter is able to do some mortal wounds at a range.
Yeah.
And the runic firewall is just a wall that will block line of sight and movement.
Okay.
Which can create a nice little funnel for him to work from.
Interesting.
Yes. He also brought the Lords of the Large Battalion, which will probably include the 20 broad axes, I assume, who will be able to fight twice, I believe, per combat phase. So that's going to be dangerous for Benjamin to deal with.
Yeah.
If he gets stuck in with that, like, those broad axes will murder a massive unit.
Yeah.
And Hearthguard berserkers are tough on their own as well, as long as they have a hero nearby. They have a 4-up ignoring wounds and mortal wounds, so they are not easy to take care of either.
Okay. So it's both armies are actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be a close match. They're probably going to get stuck in the middle, and then the first person to really spike or whiff their rolls, is gonna be able to is going to be the one to push through, and just run their opponent over.
Yeah. So very interesting. So we're going into deployment here. So he's putting down his dwarfs. So which units would this be? Probably the screening ones of 10, I imagine.
I think that the top unit so far is the Volkite Berserkers. Oh, it's so Benjamin is actually putting down his orcs. So
good lord, yeah.
So the top unit is our more boys, I believe. The bottom unit is as well. He uses those, as we have seen last game, as chaff to hold the back line or hold the front line, I mean, and then allow the savage orcs and the big stabbers to come on charge in.
Yes. We've seen the general strategy of the Boneplitterz last game,
Yeah.
where he creates a big frontage line that he uses to bog up his opponent, and then he charges the Boneplitterz in between the units, so they can actually come and deal the damage.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's what he's going to do now as well. So are the Hearthguard, you think have enough damage to also stay behind and try and take care of the Boneplitterz, or?
The Orc Hearthguard, you mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit sketch. I think they can either do really, really well, or they will be sitting there and doing nothing all game.
Because what is their weapon profile like?
I don't know it from heart, but I can look it up real quick.
Let's find
long
out.
live the Age of Sigmar app.
Yeah, long live the internet, eh? Okay, so Benjamin's putting down his orcs. He's put the building, the chronometron, whatchamacallit. What's it called?
The penumbral engine.
The penumbral engine. He put it down behind that central left building.
So I got the stat line for their missile weapons, the magma pikes, which have 18-inch range, 2 attacks, 4+ to hit, 3+ to wounds, -1 damage.
Okay.
Which is a decently solid stat line. And if you have in a unit of 10, you can do a possible about 7 damage potential. And the orcs, while they have their shields give them a 5-up in close combat, they don't get that bonus for shooting, so they only have a 6-up against that.
Yeah. So what's the range on that?
18.
18. Oh, so they actually can stay from a from a pretty safe distance.
Yeah.
And just fire. Because the thing is with Age of Sigmar, it doesn't really do anything with moving and firing like minus penalties. No. Usually a weapon would say it's like if you move you can't fire it. Is there anything in there?
No.
Is pretty much every missile weapon, as far as I know, it's just you can move around and you can shoot. You can even shoot in combat if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you can shoot into combat, but you can shoot out of combat. So if you are if you have a shooting unit that you are stuck with, then you can only shoot at the unit that they are in combat with. You can't shoot out of it.
Exactly.
Which is kind of refreshing, to be honest, because in former editions of Age of Sigmar you couldn't do that at all.
Yeah, you couldn't shoot. Yeah.
So you would you wouldn't even be able to shoot into a combat. So it would just be a shooting unit or shooting army would just get obliterated because they would get charged and then it'd be over pretty much.
They'd be useless once they get, because usually shooting units aren't very good in combat anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're focused on their shooting. So now they can at least shoot in combat, and it's kind of like a fair balance, I'd say. You could charge a shooting unit with something that you don't really care about, and now all of a sudden, you either destroy the shooting unit or you lock them down. The shooting unit can fire, but they fire into something that you don't really care about.
Yeah.
So you've locked them down, and they still get to shoot. So there's a bit of a balance going on there. Yeah, I'd say that sounds fair.
Definitely.
So now it's Benjamin. He started down putting. So this is an alternating deployment then.
Yeah.
Are all the missions in Age of Sigmar alternating deployments?
Yeah, you always alternate deployment. Though a battalion can really speed up your deployment because you can just put the whole battalion down in one go.
Yeah.
Though Benjamin is playing this relatively safely because he knows that he has more battalions and less drops.
Yeah.
So he can see where Tom is deploying his stuff and then counteract on that.
Yeah.
Which we can already kind of see because he put the 8 stabbers just really on the flank here, down below, as you can see. And now he's starting to string out that big blob of 30 savage orcs to screen further.
Yep. Yeah, basically adhering to his recipe.
Yeah.
Of screening and protecting the juicy stuff behind.
Yeah. Yeah, the trick here really is going to be who just is able to make that first push.
Yep. For sure.
Oh, that's interesting. So we didn't look at Tom's heroes, his leaders.
Yeah.
What Benjamin is doing right now is that he is filling up his back lines.
Yeah.
Because Tom probably took, I believe it's called the Doomseeker, which brings, the Bell Smiter, I believe, which can go into deep strike and bring a unit with them.
Okay.
Which can be quite dangerous, because if that gets in your back line, then you suddenly have 20 Hearthguard Berserkers in your back line going on a rampage.
Yeah, so he's stringing units out to because in Age of Sigmar, if you bring something out of reserve, they can come in, but they also have to stay away. They have to stay 9 inches away from any enemy unit.
Yeah.
So you can just file out some units and limit the options for your.
Definitely.
All right, very cool. Yeah. So he definitely doesn't want like a big unit of Fyreslayers just appearing in his rear end.
Especially in this mission, because in this mission you can actually burn the objectives to gain a quick burst of victory points.
Yeah.
This could be an interesting one. Because the danger here right now is that if Benjamin moves forward, he's going to get locked in the front.
Yes.
And then he's also going to have a big killing unit in his back. And then he's pincered. And then it's just a cleanup job for Tom.
Yep. Basically, he has to keep those units in the back there at all times, pretty much, right? And up until the point, is it in Age of Sigmar also the case that you have until turn 3 to bring in reserves, and after that they're gone?
That depends on the ability.
Okay.
Certain abilities say you have to do it the first turn. Some say that you can do it somewhere in your movement phase. Though every turn those Hearthguard Berserkers aren't on the table, they won't be doing any damage.
Nope.
So they are just not doing anything. He's going to be playing with about 400, 500 points less than his opponent.
Yeah.
Until those are on the table.
But to be fair, Benjamin is always also sacrificing a number of points of units to keep in the back to screen out his backfield.
Yeah, but he's
mostly using like very cheap orcs and a unit of boar boys.
Which are also not the most expensive unit.
No. So he's definitely sacrificing less points than Tom is for keeping his unit in reserve.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to wait too long to bring them in.
At most, if I were him, I would probably wait most until turn 2.
Yeah.
And if you don't find a gap, just put them up front and charge in from that side. Yeah. So be it. But you don't want. Otherwise, it's so much damage that you can't get in.
Because the unit that's going into reserve, we already know which one that is.
I am somewhat going to assume that it's the big broad axe unit.
Maybe it's a good idea for you to find out, and also what the missions are.
Yes.
What they picked.
Yes,
so we can put that in. Yeah. So here we go. They just removed all the markers, guys. That means that the game is going to start. It looks like Benjamin is going to start this game. As he starts moving up his Boneplitterz screen, as he did with the last game, they just move up and just fill out the board, taking over the central area. So these are really two armies that are meant to clash head-on. They have a lot of units that have a lot of staying power. Orcs are just tough. They have a lot of numbers and 2 wounds. And the dwarves might have a bit fewer models, but they compensate it by being fairly tough, have a good armor save, and have some 5-up, some abilities that they can roll a 5-up to ignore damage, especially being buffed by their characters.
Ik heb dan 6 foto's en 2 dagen voor mijn machine. Dus het is technisch 4, maar dat zijn pistols, dus dat kan ik niet meer. Dit zijn deze high density met fusion blaster, high energy fusion blaster. En zo heet het een wisselcompetitie. Dat ziet dus allemaal zo. Dus met twee fusion blasters.
So, I've gotten the secondaries for them. For Benjamin, it's Slay, which is kill the enemy hero with the highest point value. He chose Ancient Heirlooms again, which means he has to keep his heroes with artifacts alive, which are currently 3, so that could be
3 points at the end then.
well 4 straight if you keep at least one alive.
Oh, you have to keep at least one character with an heirloom or a relic.
Yeah, alive for the entire game.
Okay.
That's the goal here.
Okay.
And secret mission, which I'm surprised he picked, because that means he has to get his heroes to the other side of the table and then take them off the table.
All of them or just one?
Just one at a time, so you can score this up to 4 times, once per battle round, but up to 4 times.
Yeah.
But every turn he would have to take a hero off.
Last game we saw that he can give, fly to a unit.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing his plan might be here to just run up the board, clash in the center, move up a character, give it fly, jump over the lines, and just run it off the other side of the board.
Well, it's definitely possible, but it's an odd one, because that's a lot of buffing units gone.
Well, he only gets to get one across, right? So you might just go for it with one.
One per turn. To score it each turn, he would have to get one every turn.
Oh, okay.
So
okay. Yeah, interesting. Very curious to see how he's going to do that. And with what characters.
Yeah.
But,
and then Tom picked Ancient Heirlooms as well.
Yeah.
He also picked Conserve, which means he has to keep 2/3 of his own army alive.
Yeah.
And he picked Terrify, so bench units need to die from Battle Shock.
Okay.
For that to happen.
Sure.
Which could be doable, but the danger here is that that Tom bursts damage really hard and just gets a unit in one go. In which case Benjamin won't have to take a Battle Shock test anymore.
Yeah. Well, you could probably maybe do some, tricks. Be a little conservative with pile-ins, and just not get all your models in combat. So, purposefully limit the number of attacks you're making.
Yeah.
I mean, Boneplitterz do have a fairly low bravery. It's like around 7 or 6 or something.
I believe Boneplitterz have around 6. But they do get +1 from their banner, I believe, or maybe even +2 if they are in combat.
Oh yeah.
Because that's their big thing. They like to be in a fight.
Yeah.
I also talked to Tom for a moment and asked what unit he put in reserve, because I was looking at the table and all of his units are actually on the table already.
Okay.
He decided that because Ben locked down his own deployment so tight that not to keep a unit in reserve.
Yeah. So he decided just to deploy it on the board.
Yeah.
And run it up with the rest of the main line. Sure. Yeah.
Nou, nu vast. Doe er niks aan. Dan schiet ik dus met alle wapens daarvan snel goed uit. Dat ik gewoon dood heb.
Zaten er 205 live kijkers?
Unieke kijkers though.
Okay.
We've got, let's see. Our average for this stream is 21. That's a good number. It's about what we usually get. We can have a quick peek. There are 10 people watching on stream, on Twitch. Hey everybody on Twitch, thanks for watching. We got 4 people watching on Facebook. Hey everyone on Facebook. And we have 2 people watching on YouTube. So it's a cozy little group, I'd say. So Benjamin, or Tom rather, is started to move up his all his dwarves.
Yeah, so it seems that Benjamin actually gave Tom the first turn.
Yes. I mean, I don't think there's any real advantage for Benjamin to or for either of them to go first, because you have to get there. You have to run up, but then Tom would run up, and then Benjamin would be able to charge. And I think in this game you'd want the first charge. So we might, so we might actually see Tom just hanging back a bit. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of shooting, but he has some shooting.
Yeah.
So he could hang back a bit and
try to take some pot shots.
Yeah, just take some shots and actually, encourage Benjamin to come over.
Yeah. It's a bit of a curious thing, I think, because Benjamin does have a lot of speed, so he probably could move over fairly quickly and get a first turn charge in this deployment zone.
Yeah.
In this way of deployment, because I believe the deployments are only 18 from each other.
Yes.
So it's quite doable for him to just throw his units out there, get a first turn charge, lock down some units, try to tag them, so just get the corner of the units.
Yeah.
And just hope to stay alive long enough for some of his bigger, stronger units to arrive, like the big stabbers.
Yeah. By the way, the mission for this round. What's this mission about?
Right. I'm gonna grab the book for a moment.
Sure.
Because I do know that it is the better part of Valor from 2019, which. Right. So. You take control of it, and then the longer you hold it, the more it becomes worth. But you don't score those points yet. You can, at any point in the game, or at the end of any of your turns, you can choose to burn them, and the more points you racked up, that's the amount of points you gain.
So it's like a game of what's the word? A game of the where you've got two cars and they're driving into each other and see which one can hold their nerves for the longest.
Yeah.
So you want to grab the objective and not burn it for as long as possible, and burn it at the last possible moment.
Yeah. But it's also
game of chicken. That's what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you also have to be careful, because if you hold out too long and suddenly get overrun, then you don't get any points.
Yeah. So you kind of have to. So this is also where I guess the randomness of the turn order is going to come in. Because normally, if you have an I go you go turn, you can predict like, oh, all right, next turn he's probably going to be somewhere around there, and I'll have to burn my objective then. But now it's random turn order, so you don't always know what's going to happen. At least in a lesser degree, because it's random, right? It's the roll off. So. But you don't want to do it immediately, because then you would only get like 1 or 2 points, and then you've burned it off. And then if your opponent is able to hold them for longer, it's a points difference you won't be able to catch up to.
No.
Interesting.
Though you do have to consider that with the roll-off, winning the roll-off for priority means you get to pick, so you can decide somewhat how your next strategy is going to go.
You could say, well, I absolutely have to go now, or he'll take over my objective. Or you could say, well, I can hold out another turn. You go first.
Yeah.
That's true.
A good example here would be that Tom's stayed relatively conserved with his army. So if Benjamin moved up now but was unable to really get anywhere, or even if Benjamin stayed back right now, and Tom would win the roll-off, he might give Benjamin the turn, because he's like, well, you're not close to me yet, come to me.
I mean, he isn't really moving up the board at all.
No.
He's just staying back, and he's now taking some shots into the orcs with his Hearth Guard, I believe.
Yes, I think we might actually be at Benjamin's first turn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
No,
he's
making
casting
some changes.
spells.
Yeah, he's
He's
casting
casting spells.
Almost with that, just 3 pickles.
So I think he just gave +1 to hit to the big stabbers and maybe the double move as well.
Yeah. So the stabbers are over in the
Here,
bottom
in the bottom.
Yeah. Because that at the top are board boys, those large bases, and the large bases at the bottom are the stabbers.
Yeah.
So they are a bit, he's giving them +2 to move,
A double movement.
double movement, so that's even more.
So that's
so now
10.
effectively they move 10.
Yeah.
Can you run twice?
No, it doubles the move characteristic.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so they now move 10, but they also get fly out of it. So
Oh, that's that spell, yeah.
yeah,
Well, I don't think fly is very crucial right now, but
no.
certainly the double move value is. Now
Yeah.
they just move up the board very rapidly. I'm very interested to see how Benjamin is going to move his characters off the board.
Yeah, me too. Because he's gonna have to get close to Tom for that.
Yeah. Does by the way Tom know that he has these missions? Are
Yeah.
they open?
Yeah, they
So he
are
knows.
open.
Okay, cool. So we can talk about them as
Yeah.
loudly as we like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but they're his buffing characters, so it's a bit of an odd pick.
Yeah.
You don't really want to lose them. Maybe he's thinking he's able to steamroll Tom. Just
That could be. He might be hoping for that. He might also not expect to do as much damage, so he didn't pick any of those. And he might be also expecting to lose quite a lot, so he's not picking any defending objectives. In which case, he might think that this is going to be a pretty close game and hopes to steal a point during the last battle rounds.
I don't think he expects to move all his characters off the board.
No,
I wouldn't.
no, definitely not.
Interesting, because it's the long edges as well, so it's the worst possible deployment to do it on. Because you have to travel the longest
Yeah,
distance
yeah,
of all the deployments, yeah. So he's establishing like a long line across the right before the center.
yeah. I think he's shifting over quite a bit. I think he's hoping to kind of do what he did last game. I think he's trying to create a pendulum kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
where he
trying
swings in.
Yeah, where he swings in. And we'll see if that works out, because that would possibly leave one flank quite a bit weaker than the other. Because those big stabber units are his most dangerous unit by far. And those boar boys, while they are tough, they don't do a ton of damage. So it might be that those Hearthguard berserkers at the top might move forward and then crash down on top of Benjamin's army.
Yeah. Because the top unit is the berserker unit with the big axes.
I believe so. From this point of view, I think they are the unit with broad
Yeah,
axes.
so that's his big damage unit.
Yeah.
So he's moving away from those. So he doesn't want anything to do with those guys.
No. And Fyreslayers, their big downside is movement.
Yeah, they're very slow.
Yeah.
So what is the Tom also has like the Fyreslayer the terrain piece over there, right?
Right.
What does that do?
So a Fyreslayer's priest model can activate it, and it will gain a 12 or 18-inch aura of +1 to prayer rolls for all priests within range. Or he can use up the entire magic for one go, gain a huge buff. I believe it's reroll save rolls or +1 to save or something like that.
Yeah.
For the entire army.
+1 to save, huh?
But he loses the ability to turn it on for the +1 to prayer.
Okay.
But the big burst of +1 to save from the Magmic Forge is one turn only. So it's
yeah.
like I really need to hold out now.
Yeah, I need to activate it now. This is the turn where I'm gonna take the most damage.
Yeah.
It's a good ability though. +1 to save, army wide. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
What kind of save do they have base? Like a 5-up or I mean they're naked?
About a 5-up. They do have 2 wounds each. The Fyreslayers have gotten a buff with their book. Because they used to be 1 wound each,
Really?
but now they all have gone up a wound,
Wow,
which is really
that's
really
a
good.
big change.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
But now they are much more worth their points than they were before.
because they used to be too expensive. I know that in the beginning they were one of the top tier armies because they were very tough. They had like a 4-up save, and you could give them like after that the 4-up shrug wounds.
Yeah, the Hearthguard Berserkers still have that. As long as there is a hero, a friendly hero within range, they get that 4-up shrug save.
And then they used to be able to get like a reroll on saves.
Well, it's not as many rerolls now. It's now a lot of pluses to save,
Yeah.
which is honestly quite better.
Yeah.
Because there are prayers for +1 save. There are abilities for +1 save. It's quite easy to get an entire army of dwarves with a 2-up save,
All right.
which is ridiculous. But
Yeah, that sounds rather powerful.
yeah, and hence why they move so slow.
Yeah.
Because if they had even an average movement, then they just would have been undealable.
Somebody say.
Reroll.
All right. Somebody's saying it's
Oh.
reroll saves of 1. Not +1.
For the forge. All right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I don't know all the rules by heart yet.
That's fine.
I'm working on that.
So,
but-
so when we were talking about for 1 turn army wide, +1 save is actually reroll 1s.
yeah,
All right, that sounds less powerful for sure,
but it's
still
still good.
good.
Yeah.
because you get those for free, right? Those little terrain pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, the only downside is that as per FAQ, if you can't fit the terrain piece,
Then you can't place it?
then you can't place it. Then you're not allowed to place it.
But I
So-
mean, there isn't often like. I can't imagine any board that doesn't allow for terrain pieces.
no, you're always going to have space
Yeah.
somewhere. Might not be always the most advantageous space.
Yeah, because
But you always have
because
space.
usually you have to be in range of it as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do dwarves have any offensive spell capability, or
Except for their magmic invocations, I don't believe so.
okay,
It's mostly just buffing.
buffing themselves up?
Yeah.
He has put down like a wall spell on the bottom.
So he's kind of seeing what Benjamin is doing in trying to create that pendulum motion and closing the door on Tom.
Yep.
So he put out that runic firewall, it's
Uh-huh.
called, which can't be passed over, so models can move over it. And it also breaks line of sight.
Yeah.
So now Benjamin won't be able to move across that and get
Yeah.
a sneaky side charge in.
Yeah, he could. At the very least, it's harder because
Yeah.
he still could go like under that, around that
The little,
bottom building a little bit.
Yeah, or in between the gap, but that's a very
Yeah,
tight.
that's very limited.
Yeah.
Yep. But he could dispel that though, right?
Usually with regular spells you can.
Yeah.
But the prayers work a bit differently. They at the end of the battle round you roll a die, and on a something it just gets removed.
Oh, okay. Is it
but
like a 4-up or?
it depends a bit, I believe. I believe for these it's a 4-up.
Okay, so it's probably 50-50 that it disappears. Then.
Yeah, but you get like a +1 if there's a priest near it. So.
So he keeps the spell intact.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a good move. It's blocking stuff out,
Yeah.
trying to prevent.
Yeah, he also put down the Zergrum Flame Spitter in the middle,
Yeah.
which can do some ranged mortal wounds.
Okay.
So it's some easy damage. Might be able to, if he gets within range, might be able to get some more wounds going on a hero or whatever.
Yeah.
Get some of those buffs off the table.
Cool. Moving up with his Hearthguard, I imagine. Maybe getting ready. Oh no, that's the.
Those are the Hearthguard.
Those are the Hearthguard, yeah.
The Hearthguard Berserkers.
Yes, with the axes.
Yeah. Yes.
Inching up a little bit.
Yeah, both are really playing conservatively.
They're really feeling each other out here. They don't want to commit just yet. They're quite happy to just stay on the objectives and rack up the points for when they burn them.
Yeah. And they probably both know that both their armies can do a ton of damage really, really quickly.
So here's the thing though. If Benjamin waits too long, he might risk giving Tom the conserve points.
Yeah.
Because, the less turns you have to deal damage,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, from what I'm seeing is that Tom is just taking his regular 4-inch movement.
Because I think, he's not running at all.
No.
But you know what I think? I don't think Benjamin is, or I don't think Tom is the one that has to move, because he's got the defensive secondary mission, which is conserve. All he has to do is survive.
Yeah.
And he has ancient heirlooms, so again, survive.
Yeah.
Conserve, survive. Terrify. What's terrify again?
Terrify is having your opponent lose a unit by battle shock.
Yeah. All right, so. But
you can do that at the range.
Two of his missions he can do, but just standing there all game. He'll happily stand there, I would.
Yeah.
But then we look at the Boneplitterz. The Boneplitterz have Slay. They have to attack.
Yeah.
They have Ancient Heirlooms, right, that's survive. But then Secret Missions, again, one of those things where Benjamin is going to have to come towards the table edge.
Yeah, I think that Benjamin is definitely at a disadvantage with his secondary objectives here.
Yep. Well, he has to make the move.
Yeah, definitely. He is. The way these secondaries have pitted out is that Tom can now easily hang back and be like, well, if this ends up being a objective points draw, then I will still win because I have the most secondaries.
Exactly. So he's the one. Yeah. So Benjamin's the one that's gonna have to make the move. So I expect Benjamin to start moving next turn.
Yeah.
So now the thing is spitting a few mortal wounds, I imagine. He's measuring range from that spell that he's got going on in the middle of his. What's it called again?
The Sargrum Flame Spitter, I believe.
And it does. How does it work again?
I am somewhat unsure, but I believe it's rolled this many dice. I believe about 10 dice.
Yeah, he's doing it right now.
Yeah, 10 or 12 dice, and every
sixes
do mortal wounds.
So he's dealing. Looks like.
But he spiked that quite hard
that's
because
4.
on 12 dice.
Yeah, 4 is a lot. Yeah, you should only have 2.
Yeah.
So 3 about died. 3, I believe there. All right, some work's being taken off. Yep. So I think Benjamin just maybe tried to bait Tom for a turn. Maybe see if he wants to come
I
over.
just overheard a bit that they were talking about, and Tom actually has an ability that will allow him to fight first with a unit, so he can just get in there and then cool.
Catch a charge.
I'll
fight first.
I'll fight first. I'll fight a second time too, and just really ram damage up. That's.
Yeah. Well, let's see how Benjamin's going to respond to the walling and the basically walling off the bottom part of the table.
Yeah.
Because those Boneplitterz are all the way in the bottom.
Yeah.
It's not very ideal, I don't think.
No.
Because there's not much of interest to him in the bottom. Like a small little unit of 10.
The thing is, there's an objective under that unit of 10.
Yeah.
So Benjamin might be thinking about bringing those big stabbers over there, claiming that objective from him.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to see, because that's still a tight little space. He's probably only gonna get 3, maybe 4. 3, maybe 4 of his big stabbers in there.
Yeah. Well, they've got the 10-inch move. If he's going to put the ability on them again, the spell.
Yeah,
Fly.
but still, if you only have so much space to pile in.
It's true. Well, the 10-inch move looks like. Oh, there he goes. He's measuring it now.
Yeah.
So that's a relative easy charge. It looks about like a 5-inch charge, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think Tom might have been better off by retreating that small little unit over there as well, just a bit more towards the top. Just because the stabbers could fly up 10 inches and go underneath that building.
Yeah.
Because now he's got a relatively easy charge.
Yeah, that's something I forgot about the steppers as well, is that when they die, they do more mortal wounds against the unit near them.
Oh, really? They make like a final attack.
Yeah.
So even when they die, they deal damage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an 8 model unit that will wipe armies out if it is left unchecked.
Yep.
I am somewhat surprised that Tom isn't trying to get that Zargon Flame Spitter closer to those.
Yeah, just try to take out as many as he can before they hit his lines.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone you remove is quite significant.
Yeah, especially if they do deal mortal wounds to units near
you shoot
them
them
when
down,
they die.
but then they don't get to do the mortal wounds because they're nowhere near your units.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to ask, how many points is this?
You mean army-wise?
Yeah, just yeah.
Well, these are 2K games.
2K. Does it still works with points, or is this more like power level?
No, it points. Definitely points. Yeah, power level is not really a thing in Age of Sigmar. If you play narratively...
Used to be. Yeah, but not anymore. So, but you don't really pay per model, right? You pay usually per 10 or per 5 or something?
Depends on the unit, but it goes in batches. Yeah.
So there he goes. He's placed the bone splits over there, and now the rest of the orcs are moving up more towards the center.
Sorry.
Oh, well, there go the lights.
What is going on with stream today, man?
Now well, it's not really important to mention here. The batteries apparently were empty. They weren't charged correctly. So I'm gonna have a word with the people I borrowed it from. But it's still very visible, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, so you can see at the bottom now that units of 8 big stabbers moved up. They're probably going to try to make a charge.
Yep, it's 5-inch charge. I'd
Hope
say.
for Tom that he doesn't make that, because otherwise those Volkites are very dead.
You get a +2 to charge, right?
Well, it takes an instrument, and the big stabbers don't have an instrument. But they do get to run in charge, which I don't believe
He did.
he did actually.
No, I think he only moved 10.
Which somewhat surprises me, because why not
closer
take the
you-
exchanges?
Yeah.
He moved the big or the 10 more boys back up.
Yes. But there's no longer any need to screen his backfield.
No,
But he does have to keep someone near that objective at the top. Top right.
I do believe you can walk away from them.
Oh, it's again where if no enemy unit is near it, you remain control. All right. Yeah, I don't see Tom getting near those objectives when Benjamin starts moving up. Tom doesn't have anything like fly or...
No, but Tom does have more models, and if he's able to kill a lot of them in one go...
He'll have to go through, but he could do that for sure. But there's no like trickery or anything.
No, these two armies are not about trickery, they are about brute force, which is somewhat refreshing.
Yeah, there's a lot of trickery going on in Age of Sigmar then.
Yeah, between Slanesh, Tzeentch, there are a lot of armies that have these small little nifty tricks that can really be very annoying. To play against, at least. They're fun to play with.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So here go the Boneplitterz and made a charge. So I
But
think
looks
that
about
unit's
8.
dead.
I think he got about 6 of them in.
Yeah. So that's
Because
18
they do-
attacks.
Yeah.
3 each, 18 attacks.
But they do have a 3-inch reach, so it might be 5 or 6.
What's the length of those bases? 2.5 inches.
Question I have to think about.
Yeah. So I don't think the third.
Might be a bit shorter actually because they aren't on
at
the
least
very
2,
big.
right? At least 2.
I think they might be just under 2.
Well, even then, it's longer than 3 inches.
Yeah, so you can maybe get a second row in.
Yeah. 2 ranks of fighting there.
Yeah, so he's gonna get about. Yeah. You got 5 of them in.
No, seems about right.
Yeah.
Alright, here go the attacks made by the stabbers. So yeah, he's putting down batches of 3, so 3 attacks per model. 5 of them. Oh, 6 it seems.
Yeah. So one was probably just within range.
He needs 3s. He's re-rolling 1s.
Apparently so. I'm not completely sure where that buff is coming from. Though it's
There's a character there, maybe the character.
could be. Yeah.
So that's a lot of wounds. It's -2. Looks like Benjamin doesn't get it, or Tom doesn't get the save. That's gone. 2 units, unit of 10, so he needs to do 20 damage. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's 20 damage. They're gone.
Yeah.
Does he have a feel no pain or something?
I don't think they have a feel no pain anymore. Though they have a 4-up save.
Yeah.
So he should be getting a save from that.
He is moving them into attack.
Yes.
Do they attack when they die?
Yes. Once per game you can activate their ability which allows them to attack when they die, and they can do potentially a lot of damage against low save armies.
Okay.
Big Sebas don't have a high save, they have a 6-up save.
Okay.
So unless he got a couple +1 save buffs off, this is going to be a problem for those big stabbers, because this is 2 suicidal units.
Just mutual destruction.
Yeah.
So he's re-rolling. He's got re-roll 1s as well.
And the danger here right now for Benjamin is that if those big stabbers die, then those Hearthguard berserkers will move down and shoot that lone hero over there, and that will
pick him off.
Yeah.
So that's
It's a risky move going
Ben
on.
making some Ben makes some saves now. He's got 6 up. So 5 damage.
Yeah, so 1 died, 1 takes a wound. So that does mean that Tom loses that objective.
Yeah, so lost the objective. Now there's a character there as well behind them. So that's maybe one of the characters that can start to run off the board.
And Benjamin chose to burn it immediately. So he scored 1 point.
Yeah, so Tom has no chance to reclaim it.
No. So now Tom has to be aggressive. Tom no longer has a choice whether he sits back or not, because now because otherwise those big stabbers will run over and start killing things from the side.
Yeah, he does have to do something at some point about those Boneplitterz, because he can't just retreat back further up, because if he does that too much, he'll be giving up another objective. He doesn't want to lose those 2 objectives.
Yeah.
So he can't afford to lose them, because he's already in a very bad position, because he's hanging back. And now Benjamin has his 3 objectives, and he scored an extra point and denied any points for Tom.
It was probably a decent idea to keep at least those 10 Auric Hearthguard, the shooter units, closer to those Volkite Berserkers as a backup, so you can at least keep that objective.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Like deploy them further up towards the middle. He deployed them fairly close to the board edge, and that just gave Benjamin a charge around the building. I think that was a mistake.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now Tom's in a bit of trouble, points wise.
No, it's only the second battle round and the game is still close.
Yeah, but the thing is though, he's been forced into a position where he only now has 2 objectives, and Benjamin has 3. So he has to, but he can't leave his objectives, I don't think, because then the Boneplitterz will run around and try to take his other 2 objectives. I think he's in a very tough spot now. I think this is actually really big for Benjamin. But we'll see what...
Yeah, I think Tom really needs to take care of those big stabbers right now, because that will take out a big damage unit.
Yes. Yes, and he can take them out.
Yeah.
He's in a good spot, I guess. Or at least a better spot. But the central unit over there, the big blob, that's the other unit of Hearthguard, I'm assuming?
I am looking, by the way, and by seeing what is going on, it might be the case that Benjamin now got a double turn.
Could be, yeah. He definitely has.
Because
so now his big stabbers can run up.
Because I believe he's somewhat doing the what's it called? Doing his hero phase again.
Yeah, he's spending CP.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got those are probably CP tokens or no?
I'm not sure. I can't quite see.
Yeah, but it's definitely his turn.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's a bit... That will allow him to just keep the attack going.
Oh, those are reminder tokens for what kind of buffs and whatever.
Yeah. He's casting spells now.
Yeah.
So I don't think that goes off. I don't think that goes off on a 4, whatever he's trying to cast. Usually 4 is not enough.
Yeah, but he has +2. I heard him say,
oh.
At least.
Okay. Just measuring range from his shaman.
Yeah, probably to see if his units are in range for buffs, or where he would have to keep them for maybe a command ability.
Yeah.
Gonna be right back.
Yep. So, overheard Benjamin saying he's casting a spell, making the dwarves in the middle fight last in combat, but he failed that spell.
Nee, volgens mij is het nog steeds te weinig zijn. Als we dat gebouw verstoppen, kunnen we nog steeds doen. Maar zover kan ik niet verder moeten dan. Dus ik zou sowieso dat kunnen verstoppen. Oh, dat kan ik wel.
It's a rather powerful spell to make an enemy unit fight last, because that means you can just charge it with multiple units and not having to worry about the alternating combat. You can just, charge without worrying about such a thing. So here come the boar boys. They have the spell for double movement and fly cast on them, so they're flying over their orc brethren. He's making an interesting little pattern here. Four tracks. This is taking place in Amsterdam at the Van der Valk Hotel in Hoofddorp. We have all our events here. in a nice big conference hall. Very spacious, very well ventilated, nice atmosphere, nice lunches. If you are in the vicinity and ever able to come to one of our events, we do 40K, we do Age of Sigmar, we have specialist games. You definitely should come. Well, Boobesmacker. I won't say it's impossible, but it's not going to be easy. The thing is, Benjamin's double turning. He has that that spear unit in the bottom. His big damage unit. They can innately run and charge. So they're going to, yeah, there they go. They're going to charge up there and try and charge as far up the middle as they possibly can, so that they can, you know, charge near the objective. He's probably going to try and clear that back unit. I think it's a 2, 4, 6, 8. Might be a unit of 10. Is that one big unit over there in the middle?
Yeah, it's 2 units. One unit of 20 and one unit of 10. 10.
Is the unit of 10 in the back or the unit of 20?
The unit of 10 is in the back.
So yeah, so here's the play. Benjamin's going to charge that unit of 10. He's going to charge those spear. What do you call it? The bone.
The big stabbers.
The big stabbers. Thank you. He's going to charge those big stabbers as far towards the objective as he can. If he can reach the objective with his models, is it still most models within 6?
Yeah.
So that actually potentially makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
I don't quite know, but aside from the unit of 10, I don't know how many of the models of the unit of 10 are actually within 6. It doesn't look like too much. I think about 3 or 4 tops.
Yeah.
If he can charge the unit of 10, annihilate them, and stay out of attacking range of the unit of 20.
Oh, that could be quite difficult.
Yeah, he might be able to burn that objective, and I think at that point, I'd say it's game.
Yeah.
Because then Tom has lost too many points.
Yeah, and he won't have the speed to get the Ben's objectives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're quite right, Booba Sameka, in saying that, do the Boar Boys have the ability that they can lock units in combat as well?
Yeah. Their sub-faction allows for no retreating from the enemy.
So Yep. So he's going to charge like the outer little model of the top unit.
Probably.
And just lock them in.
Yeah.
So they can't respond to anything that's going on in the center.
Exactly.
I hate to say it.
I think Tom is going to lose this one. It's going to be very, very hard for him. He needs to crush this combat phase.
Yeah. He needs to murder those Boar Boys. But I think Benjamin's going to be smart about it and just tag like one model at the far corner of the unit. so that not a whole lot of models
Well,
can
he
attack.
just charged. And he's created this nice little wall for himself.
Yeah.
And he tagged one corner, and then he's probably going to use.
Making like a wall.
Yeah, he's using this unit to now tag the other corner. So
Yeah, so they can't
pile in
they
anymore.
can't pile in either way without losing coherency. Yeah, very smart plays here being made. I can see why he's currently ranked #1 here in this tournament. He's making very smart plays.
Yeah, his positioning is amazing, which is quite by far the biggest thing in Age of Sigmar is positioning.
Yeah. No, 40k too. It's like position is everything.
Yeah. And if at least one thing can be said about Benjamin is that his positioning has just been superior to at least Tom and his.
Yeah, I think so. Because I said it before. I think Tom made a mistake by giving those stabbers a charge at the bottom. He could have easily prevented that because he had the wall up. All he had to do, and the objective was like behind the building, but a bit more towards the center. He could have easily been within 6 of that objective, and not give the stabbers a charge.
Yeah.
I didn't think he saw the 10-inch movement coming.
No, I don't think so either.
Gotta say, I'm starting to like this game more and more.
You do? Mm-hmm. I like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I already decided that I'm probably going to play Legion of Grief.
Okay, yeah.
Because I like ghosts.
Yeah.
And Benjamin told me Legion of Grief ghosts are pretty good.
Yes, they are. Legion of Grief is a somewhat hard army to play because it takes a lot of finesse in knowing when to bring units back and such.
Yeah.
And when to push, when to pull back a bit. But yeah, it's a really fun and good army as well.
Yeah. So here's something interesting. I think Benjamin rolled fairly low for his charge.
That could be the case, so he's moving back on his charge a bit.
Yes.
So I think he's realizing that if he can corner
both
Tom enough, then he won't be able to get enough points. So the thing is that if Tom manages to survive long enough, then he might still win just on secondaries.
It might be, but the thing is, those Boneplitterz or those spear stabbers, or what's it called again?
The big stabbers?
The big stabbers, thank you. He's got both units in the center, like, tagged at the far ends.
Yeah.
So those spear stabbers, big stabbers can just deal their damage without any real fear of getting too many attacks back.
Yeah.
So that's really dangerous because now they're in a position to just keep doing damage, across multiple combat phases.
Yeah, definitely. But Benjamin was conservative with his big stabbers here, keeping them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he put one into combat, but he kept the other 6 behind them. So
I wonder why.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Well, I think I know. Because he can still pile in when they are picked, and that unit probably fights first.
Yeah, if he moves in more models, he'll just create more room for Fyreslayers to get their attacks in. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
So now he's just hoping that that Tom won't spike very hard.
Yeah.
And then so he can pile in and then do a lot of damage.
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's now Tom's turn to pick a unit to fight. He's saying reroll to hit. So I think, is he picking one of his abilities?
Yeah, no.
CP abilities?
Yeah, one of the regular command abilities you can use in the combat phase is giving reroll hit rolls of 1.
Yeah.
4 command points.
Yeah.
So that's.
Well, it's now or never, right? He needs to deal the damage now. So here go the stabbers.
Yeah.
Piling in, getting within 3-inch range.
Yeah. I think this is the combat phase that kills Tom.
Zeker gemotiveerd. Gebeurt er dan niet al maar dan nog is het wel zo dat dan zo zien, dat gaat bij mij wel in hobby. Ik bedoel, ik ben een store manager, ik ben nog steeds hobbyist. Dus ik dat dan zie, dus ik dacht, dat is zo cool. Warhammer Tilburg. Ja, we komen uit Tilburg, dus eigenlijk geen corona.
Yeah, and with the 3-inch reach on those big stabbers, probably all of them are in range at this, just for being that far.
Yep.
But those things won't get, the dwarves won't be able to pile in, so they won't get their attacks in.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2. Like there's a small little cluster of 4 dwarves at the bottom
Yeah.
that might get their attacks in, but that's not going to be enough. So here we go. He hits with. Do 6s do something special? Extra attacks?
Not that I'm aware of.
He's counting 6s and adding dice now.
Oh, he probably used the command ability that allows 6s to explode, so
Yeah, or
counting as 2 hits.
So these are the stab. Look at the insane amount of hits from the stabbers.
Yeah, those units are dead.
3 to 1 now. Alright, so actually a fair amount of 1s and 2s, but 19 saves. 19 minus 2 saves, so 19 6-ups.
Yeah, those dwarves also have a 4-up shrug save.
Oh,
That
Okay.
might save him.
yeah. So some 6s will save him a potential D3s. That's 1, 2, 3. 3 6s being rolled, so 16 4. So 15 D3s. Alright. 15 D3s, hey, that's an average of 30 damage.
About, yeah. Oh, he
9,
spiked that.
Yeah, 9, 10.
There's not a single. There's one.
19,
One.
20, 30,
37.
37, yeah.
Oof.
Alright, so on average, he'll save 15, around 17, 18. So
Yeah, but that will still be a lot of dead dwarves.
yes, on average, they're really dead. So 2 4s, 6 8. Oh no, he's getting out the fills, I think. So yeah, they're already gone. Oh no, they're 2 wound dwarves.
Yeah.
So looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish dwarves died
About, I think, yeah.
from that number of 10.
Oh, that could be smart.
Pulling them away from the.
From the boar boys.
Yeah, but they would still be locked with the. But then they could start piling in.
Yeah, well, the thing is that if he pulled the top 6,
Yeah.
he would. Well, you still have to pile towards the closest model. So.
Yeah, you still have to go towards the
Oh,
boars.
it's 8 dwarfs.
Oh, 8 dwarves go down.
8, yeah, 8 or 7. But
Deze 6 damage. Je krijgt 1 damage. Dan heeft hij nog
Yeah. So Benjamin's saying you can't do that. You have to pile in towards the boars, towards the top, with the top half of the dwarf unit. Mr. Tom. You didn't say the magic word. So what's this now? 2 attacks?
yeah, the 2 dwarfs at the bottom of that unit just.
Yeah. Alright, so maybe put it. Oh no, not even. Yeah. Oh, 1. Okay.
But those are the shooting units, so they're not that
Ah,
great
yeah.
in combat.
Okay, sure. So he lost 8, so he's gonna have to make our dwarves immune to psychology, or
No, but there's a command ability to.
2 CP.
Yeah. 1 CP for.
Oh, 1 CP.
Yeah. All command abilities in Age of Sigmar only one command
Okay.
point.
So happy to stay there with the boar boys. He doesn't want to get in too close to those dwarves
No,
to give
because
them a
if
chance to fight.
Exactly.
Yep. You're just happy to maintain that wall.
Yeah,
So
because now,
he's going to lose the boar boys, but it's going to buy him a turn.
yeah. And they're already in turn 3.
Yes.
They're going quick, by the way, because they're not even an hour and a half into their game.
Yeah.
Is dus op een 5 minuten. Ja. 8. Die reroll.
Alright, we got some attacks going on here though. Oh, he's getting more dwarves in there. The other unit's coming in. Oh yeah.
And this is the damager unit. So these are the pole arms, I believe. So those.
Alright, so he's pulling a big stabber. So now he gets to do his mortal wounds like D3? So straight up D3 mortal wound?
Yeah.
So it's 2. Mortal wounds, but he gets to ignore on a 4. Oh no. The 4
No, that's
struck
the
only
other
works
unit.
on normal.
He picked the unit that doesn't have it.
Ah, so smart. So he doesn't actually get the 4.
Yeah. So he's probably trying to do the heavy damaging on the unit that does have it, and a bit of mortal wounds that go off on the unit that doesn't.
Yeah. All right. So so the dwarves actually can get it.
Yeah. So he just tagged them. So now those dwarves are stuck in, but they're not gonna be able to pile a whole lot.
Well, he charged them, so he had to come. If you declare a charge on a unit, do you then?
You don't have to declare a charge against someone. You just
you
have
just
to
roll,
say,
right?
Yeah. You just have to say they charge.
But then wouldn't it be better to just wall them off and not even charge them?
I think so, though now those dwarves can't retreat anywhere. Those
Yeah,
dwarves
but-
are now forced to fight.
By just walling, well, he wasn't able to close the gap entirely.
Yeah.
So if he hadn't charged that dwarf, they could in theory move up a bit, make a charge, and charge through this gap.
Maybe. Though that would have taken a long bomb charge.
Yeah.
Especially considering you have to stay outside of 3 from enemies.
But these are the big X.
Yeah. These
So
are
these could do some damage.
these are 2 damage apiece.
Looks like 5 wounds coming through. And
6,
it's -1,
I believe.
No, 6.
Yeah, 5.
So 2 saves and 1 save. Oh, they only have a 6 up. So it's 3. So that's 6 damage going through.
But he has 6s to ignore.
6 up to ignore with his body paint. That's 2 dead and 1 on 1 wound. Or did he have 3 wounds each?
3 wounds each.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, the general rule for cavalry, regular size cavalry at least, is that you take whatever they're based on and then add a wound.
Okay. So that's the easy way to look at it.
Yeah.
So here's another unit that gets to pile in and attack. Oh, it's a character maybe?
From the battalion, those dwarves get to pile in and fight twice.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
But they don't have a whole lot of models in. You know, looking at it now, I do think Tom still has the opportunity to break out.
Yeah. If those big stabbers die fast enough,
Yeah.
then he still has a chance. Otherwise, it's game. He needs to kill them next turn, during his next turn.
Thing is, next turn he won't be able to pile in very far as well because the boar boys are still there.
Yeah.
But he could potentially go with those dwarves. But those dwarves are never going to. What's the range on their axes? Like 1 inch?
Yeah, maybe 2.
So
Maybe
I
two.
don't. So I. Yes, I am, Denny. Leave me alone. I don't think those dwarves can destroy those. So he could, in theory, go with the dwarves at the top, and then kill the boars, and then now he's free to pile into the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I would try to do anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, but the only downside there is if he goes with the dwarves on the top first, now the stabbers get to fight another time.
Yeah.
And I maybe he can't afford that. Probably don't.
No, probably not. Yeah, because you come from a 40k background usually as well, right?
Yes. Well, I started off with fantasy. So
fair
fantasy is
enough.
my roots. I played orcs and goblins. Yeah, playing orcs and goblins is like an emotional roller coaster because they're not very reliable. So I picked the army purely based on their aesthetics. I think I was 16 years old, 15 years old, something. 14 probably. And I met some guys who went to the club, and then I saw they were playing Warhammer Fantasy, and I thought, well, that's cool. I want me some of that. And so I went out, and my first army was orcs and goblins. And orcs back in the day still had animosity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they were very unreliable. And he used to play this guy Rick. He's one of my best friends, if not my best friend. But he played Wood Elves, and where fantasy was like a regimental game. Mm-hmm. The Wood Elves played like it was 40k because all they had was skirmishes.
Yeah.
And so they would dance around. They would just dance around your units, and then they would charge whenever they feel like was the best advantageous moment for them to charge. And there was nothing I could do. The only thing I could do was cast. If we were playing 2k points, take a shaman lord, and cast Gork's Warpath, where he would just foot a Gork, and foot a Gork did d6 strength 6 hits to any model on the board I choose, and then I try to flatten all his mages, and then every time I did d6 hits, after that I roll on a die, and a 4-up it gets to go to another unit. So he just goes on a rampage, stomping. As long as I kept rolling 4-ups, I kept doing that. But if I managed to do that once and annihilate like half his army in one go, and ever from that moment I was like terrified of Foot of Gork. That was the only time I managed to win. All the other times he just smashed me because they just run around your lines and then they get rear charges and flank charges and they deal a high amount of damage because they're elves. It was horrible, man. So, but that was actually my first time, and then later I transitioned because the club stopped because people had jobs all of a sudden.
Life.
as app, and then I met Generals of the West, which the guys played 40k there, so I went into 40k also with orcs because I just love orcs. But
which is fair.
But I've dabbled in Age of Sigmar along the way because I find it very appealing. The model, I find the models very appealing. I find the fluff very appealing. I find the flavor they give to armies, the certain ways they play. I think they really managed to capture the idea of an army very well in their roles and stuff.
Yeah,
plus, I just love spells and sword and sorcery.
Yeah.
I just love that stuff. So it's really cool. Yeah, it's really interesting to me. So stuff makes me excited. So
I also find with Age of Sigmar that the models are just so dynamic, not just in the way they are posed, but also the way they are sculpted, the little bits and pieces they have hanging off of their belts or whatever.
Yeah.
It just gives so much character, which is a ton of fun to paint as well.
Yeah. So here's something interesting that's going on. He put up a wall
Yes.
at the back of his unit. What's
Yes.
that about?
I am trying to figure that out.
He put up a wall, maybe protect the back of his unit a little bit. But if he wanted to do that,
Maybe it is to keep those
stabbers.
big stabbers from piling in weirdly.
Yeah, I'm not sure because if it were me, if I were trying to prevent big stabbers from piling in, I would just put the wall like horizontally.
It also gives reroll save rolls of 1, apparently.
Oh, well, there you go. Within 12 inch. Oh, thanks for informing us about that one, Grand Arcanum Games. Thanks. So he's measuring to see how many dwarves might get in with a pile-in, I guess. He's trying to decide. See what's going on. I'm gonna see what's going on. We got sidetracked a little bit.
So we are halfway into the last round of the tournament.
Yeah, so those wounds being done to the boar boys were the fire pikes shooting in.
Yeah, fair enough.
So now he's going into charges. So he doesn't have much to charge. There's only one unit not locked. Well, he's got an Auric Rune Father in there with the big keyblade, the key
The
thing.
latch axe.
Yeah, the
I
latch
believe.
axe, which can break weapons, right? Is that thing?
Yeah. It gives it a temporary -1 to hit. So that's really nice. That's not bad at all.
-1 hit. Yeah, no, that's a good ability.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's charged. Oh, yeah, there you go. No, that's a pylon.
Yeah. It doesn't have anything to charge
No, it
with
doesn't have
because
anything
it's
to charge.
all locked already.
Yeah, and the thing is the character is stuck in that little bubble over there,
Yeah.
so he can't get in because
No.
to be able to charge you have to be able to get within half an inch, right?
Yeah.
Because and he can't, so he
No.
can't.
And he has nowhere to move either.
Nope. There we go. Four wounds going, or at least 4 saves to make for Benjamin. No. So that's a lot of damage. Oh, he made 3 6s, so that's fortunate for Benjamin. But there goes another base. Another 2 bases, even, I think.
I think it's a base and
Oh no,
1 wound left.
both, and yes, because it's 4 wound bases.
Yeah.
So many wounds.
Yeah.
Well, they're two orcs. So
Yeah.
makes sense. So now Benjamin gets to go. I think though eventually the Fyreslayers will win that fight.
It's just going to take him a little bit.
It's just a question of
And don't forget that those Fyreslayers get to pile an extra time.
yeah. So they get to fight another.
So
time.
they might
So
be-
he has to choose the Stabas, or else he'll lose another one, probably, maybe 2.
Yeah, well, if they have the ability to fight at the start of the combat phase, then they can technically go again right away.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
They're like berserkers.
yeah.
Sweet.
The only downside I feel with Fyreslayers is because all of their names are very close to each other. It's
Yeah.
Auric Hearthguard, Volkite
Yeah.
Berserkers, Hearthguard Berserkers. It's,
Not only that, they all look alike as well.
yeah.
It's to me, it's not a very visually appealing army. They all
No,
really look.
I kind of have the same thing. Though you could potentially make it visually appealing. I've seen people do creative stuff with painting and such. That really gave the models a lot more character than they usually do.
There we go. We got some 6-up saves going on, I believe. Oh no, wait, there was the 4-up. Oh no, those guys don't have the 4-up, or do they? Wait, did he make that many 6-ups? Took away the dice. Alright, so here he goes again, attacking again. Six of saves, rolling once for the boar boys, I believe.
I somewhat feel like my
go
TO experience is being requested.
So here you go, the some boar boys now being removed from the game. The scenario, that's a good question, Stephen AOS. I believe it's the better part of valor. So the better part of valor says there are 4 objectives, two in each territory, on the top and on the bottom. If you grab the objective, you start scoring points for each consecutive turn. So if you hold it for 1 turn, it's 1 point. If you hold it for 2 turns, it's 2 points. But you only get the points when you burn the objective. So you have to stay on them and then kind of risk not burning them until you've racked up enough points where you'll decide it's time to burn it, and then that's the point where you get the points. Thing is, though, if you just tuned in, Stephen, Tom, the Fyreslayer player, already lost his bottom objective. Because there was a unit of big stabbers deployed in the bottom that managed to charge the unit that was standing on it and destroyed the unit and immediately burned that objective. So in this game, Tom is a little bit on the back foot because he only has 2 objectives yet left, and Benjamin, the Bonesplitter player, still has 3. And he's safely camping on those objectives, and all he really has to do is keep those Fyreslayers busy and not give them a chance to retaliate and burn one of the Bonesplitter objectives in turn. And so he's been playing a game of locking all the Fyreslayers, charging them at the very edges of a unit. The Bonesplitters have a special rule that whatever they charge, their enemies can't retreat out of combat. For instance, the unit piling into the boar boys are locked in with the boar boys until they completely destroy them. Thing is, though, the dwarves piling in now are the high damage unit that have the great axes with the 2 damage a pop. And now finally a decent number of dwarves get to pile in, so I think this is the turn where he gets to do some decent damage. We'll see. Here he goes. We got some rolls. So they're hitting on 3s. And then wounding on 3s. And then it's rend 2 to damage. Yeah, that's. So the boar boys have a 4-up save, so they've got 6-up saves. You're rolling 1s because they still have the Mystic Shield. They roll the 1. All right, so 6 wounds go through, so that's 12 damage. And then he has a 6-up Feel No Pain because they have lovely body paint. Yeah, so that's 2 saves, so that's 12. So that's 5. 3 wounds each. Yeah, so 3 die. There you go. Okay, that's that's a bit better. They only managed to kill 1 last turn. He needs to kill those guys. That dwarf unit desperately needs to break free. If they don't, they can't help their buddies in the middle, and then it will take them too long to clear all the orcs on their side, and they won't be able to push out in time. Because the Fyreslayer is definitely on the back foot, and they need to start making some offensive moves, but they as of yet can't. There are too many orcs near their objectives that are threatening to burn the Fyreslayer objective. Unless Tom, decides to burn his objectives, forsake his side, and go for an all-out assault into the orc lines. He can just do something like that. But he first needs to take care of those big stabbers in the bottom. Here we go. This is a big unit. That's the dwarf unit that can the good combat unit. They can pile in and fight twice. So they're gonna get some decent number of attacks in now. This is, by the way, the second time they're piling in. So they already went once, and now this is the second time they get to attack. They now get to pile in properly, because before the boar boys were still alive and the closest target, preventing that unit from piling in to the bottom properly. But now they can. Here we go, getting his dice ready to attack. Well, whatever happens, Booba Smacker, I think it's already being spicy. But yeah, I agree with you. Well, I'm not so sure. Well, this is turn. I'm not so sure it's too late at this point. I kind of think it is, but I'm not fully convinced. If he can destroy these stabbers now, I think there's still a chance that he can actually make a game out of it. So that's one save made by the stabbers. So that's 6 damage. 1 stabbers on 1 wound. So he can potentially kill 2 stabber models here. Oh no, never mind. This is 2 damage. So it's very likely that, yeah, they're gone. I thought there was just 1 damage, but they were 2 damage weapons. So they're gone. So they've freed themselves now from the tyrannic Boneplitterz grasp. So but it is because Boneplitterz have a rule when they die. It's 3d. It's they deal a final d3 mortal wounds. Looks like he dealt like 5 mortal wounds or so. So he's losing a few of the dwarves. But look, he managed to clear most of it off. Basically, his territory is now, or the Fyreslayer territory is now the Fyreslayer territory again. The boar boys managed to make their bravery check. Ooh, that's interesting. Hi. So it is Benjamin's turn, so they had a roll off. Tom rolled a 6. And then Benjamin rolled a 6 as well. Because Benjamin went first last round. No, wait. I'm mistaken. Benjamin!
Yeah.
Is he double turning?
I won the roll, so I'm just deciding now.
Okay. Okay, so Benjamin won the roll off because they both rolled a 6. But Benjamin's deciding if he's going to take. Benjamin's still deciding if he's going to take the turn or if he can risk giving Tom a double turn, and then potentially he'll go last, and then he'll potentially get a double turn. No, so he decided to go first, and he's in his hero phase. So he's buffing up the boar boys. I tend to agree with you, Boobasmack. I still think he's in an advantageous position over Tom, mainly because he burned one of his objectives. But the thing is, though, if you in this in this tournament we have a custom secondary missions, Boobasmacker, and actually the custom objectives give you can give you potentially as many points as the primary, if not more. There are 3 missions, and each mission can give you 4 points, so you can get 12 points in total from just the secondary missions. And the Fyreslayers chose Ancient Heirlooms, which means that if any character survives that has a relic, the Fyreslayers get 4 points at the end. Conserve means if the Fyreslayers survive with at least 2/3 of their army, they get 4 points. And Terrify, which means that they need to destroy a unit with Battle Shock in order to get another 4 points. But Conserve and Ancient Allies are basically survive. So it pays for Tom to play very cagey and not risk too much. But the Boneplitterz have Slay, which means they need to destroy 2/3 of an enemy army. They also have Ancient Allies and Heirlooms, and they have Secret Mission, which means each turn he gets one of his heroes off the board edge. If he can get one of his heroes off Tom's board edge, he gets a point. So they're very much attacking style objectives. If Tom can deny Benjamin those points, that might make up for the fact that Benjamin burned one of his objectives. So I still think it would behoove Benjamin very much to go on the offensive. But I'm not sure he has the offensive capability anymore because he lost the big stabbers. So that was a big damage unit, and what he has left, all the Boneplitterz. The Boneplitterz don't have the offensive capability that the dwarves have. Yeah, it's a bit of a custom, also a bit of an experiment. It's quite new. Yeah, it's different, for sure. Alright, so here comes another unit of Boneplitterz. Just pulling out his boar boys with the fly spell. Oh, he's gonna grab the objective. Yep. So they double their move with the spell, which means they move 10 base, so that it's doubled. It's 20. I rolled for a run. I rolled a 4, so they move 24. So they're now within 6 of that objective, so he gets to burn that objective as well. That's very bad news for the Fyreslayers. They really needed to kill that boar unit. That spell is very powerful, that double your move and fly. Very powerful spell. Especially in a game where objectives matter. So, doing a bit of math, if he burns that objective, and he's going to, Tom can only score a point on one objective. He's been on that center objective for 3 turns. Going in the 4th now, I do believe. So he burns that one. So he scored, that means Benjamin will score 2 points off of Tom's objectives, burning them. So that's 2 points. And then he can still score like 12 points for the 3 objectives in his own deployment zone. So that will be 14 points. That means that even if Tom scores his own objective and maybe like all his secondaries, which is iffy, Benjamin would still win by scoring his own and maybe accomplishing like one of his secondaries. So it's mathematically very unlikely that Benjamin is going to lose this. I think they're mathing it out. Yeah, okay. No, they've come to agreement that this is a lost cause. I think they're mathing it out now. The double turn, I didn't even see that move with the Boar Boys. But the double turn that Benjamin has now really seals the deal. So you missed a pretty big move there, Fabian. So they rolled off for the next turn.
Yeah.
Benjamin won the roll off. He was briefly considering maybe giving Tom the double turn, thinking he might, that might be better. But then he decided to take the first turn, and he gave fly and double move to his Boar Boys, and he flew over the unit onto the objective behind them, and he burned that objective as well.
Yeah.
At that point, we did some math. That's 2 points for him off of Tom's objectives alone. Then he has his own objectives. So even we kind of did a bit of math on, at the spot on the stream, where even if like Tom takes his objectives and then accomplishes maybe all of his secondaries, which is iffy.
Yeah.
It's all Benjamin would have to do is accomplish his own primary and maybe one of his secondaries, and he'd still win. So mathematically, very unlikely Benjamin is going to lose this. And in fact, they did a bit of like mathing out themselves, but I do think they decided to keep playing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it could matter for the ranking for who ends up second. So
it's a good idea to keep playing.
Yeah.
It's a good mentality to have, to keep playing, right?
Yeah.
To try and score as many points as you can, or deny your enemy as many points as you can. But I think they agree that this game is over pretty much.
Yeah, Fyreslayers really shine when there are 3 objectives in the center, for example, because then they just charge in and they stand an objective, like, come at me, bro.
Yeah.
No nifty tricks needed, but now it really comes down to positioning and such, and that's just... Yeah. You have your army so spread out that if you lose a flank, you get crushed.
Yep.
And you can actually see that Tom didn't even lose a whole lot of models. It's just
he was being outmaneuvered.
Yeah.
That spell, man. That spell, double move and fly. That's a powerful spell.
Like even if you roll doubles, it triples the movement. So 15-inch movement with fly. That's amazing.
So, you mean when you run?
No, the ability or the spell says that if you roll doubles on the dice,
Any double.
any double,
What's the value? What's the casting value? Like
I believe
6 or
it's
7?
value 6. So it's quite easy to attain as well.
So double 3, double 4, double 5, double 6. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real powerful. Oh, they're coming back to take care of the. I don't think it matters though. The Boar Boys are at this point expendable. I think he'd be better off charging the other way and just try to burn one of the objectives that Benjamin holds.
Yeah.
Benjamin also put up a little body screen over there in front of the dwarves to just prevent them from moving up the board.
Yeah, though I don't think there's a whole lot more Tom can do at this point.
No. Doesn't have the time, as in the number of turns. Doesn't have the movement. There are too many orcs standing there, defending Benjamin's objectives. Yeah, it's a bit of a curious move to move those double-handed axe dwarves back.
Yeah.
I need to start learning names.
It's okay. I think you mean the
Top ones.
Yeah, so the hard card berserkers with broad axes.
Yeah. It's weird to just those boar boys are meaningless pretty much.
Yeah. But you can't completely ignore them either,
Well,
because otherwise they might move downwards and grab the middle objective as well.
yeah. Yeah, I guess, but he could burn that one himself.
Yeah.
They're out of range, out of casting range for the double move anyway. So they only move 10. So he should be safe for a turn at least.
12, but yeah.
Well, 12. Yeah, well, he should be safe for a turn at least.
Yeah. Yeah, those 2 inches aren't gonna really matter. But
Yep.
Do what they're wired to do.
Alright, we got some shots going into the bone splitter boys.
It's interesting because Benjamin already burned his top
Yeah.
objective just
Yes.
to make sure that Tom wouldn't move forward, use the +2 move.
Oh, I didn't even see that. So
Room.
so that's probably why Benjamin or Tom decided to go for the boar boys instead. There's no reason to run over to the top
No,
side of the bone splitters.
exactly.
All right, so then I take it back. Then I would have done that as well, actually, because those boar boys it's like a long bomb charge, but they could potentially threaten his middle objective.
Yeah.
Looks like they made their charge though.
Yeah, then those. Then those boar boys are very, very dead
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah. But like I said, I don't think Benjamin cares.
No.
They've done their job and more.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
Funnily enough, though, also Benjamin burned that one. I think he scored 3 points off of that.
2. Yeah, no, actually 1, I think.
I think too. Yeah, he had it for at least 2 turns.
Benjamin held it for 2 turns.
Yeah.
Did he have a double turn or something?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, then he would get an extra one.
So he's on 3
Yeah.
for now, but he's we've got secondaries to do. But it's a formality, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. He also held that for because they're now in turn 4 or 5.
4, I believe.
4. So he burned that one in turn 4.
Yeah.
So that's 1, 2, 4, I believe 8. Can I get a book for a moment?
Sure.
Zet hem onder toon als je zet hem zo snel bij iemand staat.
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Hij was er ook.
I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break.
Sure.
Zie je, mijn stelskill second up to top. Ze vallen zo.
Yeah, so Benjamin burned his own objective as well, the top one, which he held for 4 turns, which will get him an extra 4 victory points. So he's now already up to 7. Oh, those are a lot of 6s that he just made. Though I mean, this is probably the point that that Tom is going to score a point on Terrify. The scenario is a better part of Valor 2019. Yeah, that was the discussion, Ptolemy. That was the discussion that I was having with my colleague over here. Is that because I had to BTO for a moment and ask, so I had to ask if Benjamin held that objective that he burned in Tom's deployment for a second turn in a row or not. Because if he did, then it's worth 2 points. All right, thank you. I'll fix it.
Your clowns have just met their
Maak met deze die daar was. Ja. Voor 1 CP is ook dat
Yeah, those, as expected, those war boys got wiped out. Yeah, Benjamin already burned 2 of Tom's home objectives, so now it's just it's going nowhere for Tom anymore because he kinda has to grab all of Benjamin's objectives, which he can't do anymore because Benjamin burned one of his own. So Tom is really in a disadvantageous position. I assume that he's going to try and hold on to his own objective for one more turn, which would be doable. Then he would get 8 for that, and he might have a really weird chance somehow. I don't see it happening, but if he somehow manages to get into combat with the 30 Savage Orcs, he might be able to do enough damage to grab maybe one of the side objectives from Benjamin, which would bring the game together quite tightly. So we're gonna have to see what happens there. I think Benjamin has a win here, but it could end up being a very tight win.
Yes, I'm Rucho wel disappointed. Jullie hebben alle 30
Yeah, at this point, I think that's the case as well, Dolomie. It's a struggle, really, because honestly, the next about 12 players have an equal shot at second place. So it's not just Tom that is going for second place here. Which means that if he loses bad enough, he could drop a lot in the rankings, which would be quite a shame considering how far he came, making top table in the last round.
Het is 12, 14 minuten, staat 2 punten voor. Yes. Nou, doe jij ook je move af? Ja, zeker. Ja, toch? Dus toch, kijk eens. Die deden zo. Fusionblasters. Bij jullie zitten er 2 op. Ja, 2 daarin en op de schouders van de Ghost Keel en Shadow Sun. En jij misschien niet thuis.
Oh ja, lekker. Ja, gewoon zwart. Nee. Ben niet moeilijk.
Dat ze convert in een beetje gaan zoeken. Dus ik klein monita, spits op. Dus ik een klein monita, dat houdt in dat mijn al mijn modellen binnen 6 inch van haar, binnen 6 inch, dat die mogen moven en advancen en schieten alsof ze stil zijn. Dus zonder nadenken. Daar ben je niet objective of niet? Achter die box. Daar is objective.
Yeah, and this is also the first tournament where HL Sigmar gets a spot on the streaming table. So if we get enough support for that, we may see some more of that, which would be really nice. Yeah, definitely. Just the human, the quote-unquote human brick walking up the battlefield has been really dominant lately. And mobile armies, and not even very numerous ones, but just very mobile armies shine in missions like these. And considering that I did pick a healthy balance in both low and high objective count missions for this, it's interesting to see how many different lists you've gotten out of that. Because we have 3 Bonesplitter armies going on, and all 3 of them are vastly different as well, which is kind of the show in how, for me at least, in how the books in total function. Because I see that all over the place is that the lists are vastly different from each other, even when they are from the same faction. Except for the 2 copies of the Nagash Petrifex Elite list. That's an exception to that rule. Thank you.
Alright, they're still going at it though. Just playing out the game though.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, just gonna go over there.
I think he's within charge distance. Oh no, he's piling in. Oh right, so he's killing that last Moor boy. Or last couple more boys, at least. Yeah, we were having somewhat of a discussion yesterday during dinner. You hit me with that one. I come from a 40k background. That's where I started playing Warhammer about 5 years ago by now. And I switched over pretty much full time to Age of Sigmar about 2 years ago. Before that, I started dabbling into Age of Sigmar, but not really committing yet. But for the last 2 years, it's been pretty much only Sigmar. The strength and difference. All of this is my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. In my opinion, 40k is a bit too alpha strikey. It has. I have had games where I set up my opponent as a first turn, and I was packing up my army after that, just done, finished. But when I play at my local store and just having a fun game with wacky different combos that you usually wouldn't see at a big tournament, then it can be loads of fun. I also feel like 40k is a lot more. Honestly, I'm so out of 40k. I haven't been really playing a lot since, for about 2 years now. So I can't put a whole lot of input on that. I definitely prefer Age of Sigmar, because Age of Sigmar feels a lot more balanced. Every unit also feels like it has its place, at least somewhere. Not always a good place. Sometimes it means being a meat shield, being a cheap meat shield. But if that's their job, that's their job. Not how good a unit is doesn't rely on how good their combat stat line is, in my opinion. Oh yeah, I completely believe that. Like I said, I have been out of the 40k game for quite a bit now. I can understand that. The double turns cause quite the discussion, to put it that way. I personally quite like it because it's something you can play up against. You can account for it when you move, when you decide to charge or not. Do you take the risk of being double turned? Do you wait up a bit? Yeah, I personally find that with the double turn, wait, what? I personally agree with. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce your name, man. But Buba Shamaka, Jesus, man. It takes getting used to, especially when you come for 40k or you're a new player. It takes a lot of. How am I supposed to know that, Paul? Come on. You say that, but no. Yeah, with the but yeah. But yeah, with the double turn, a good player can take it into account with their movement. Like, if you have the first turn, are you gonna move in such a way and take the risk of being double turned? Do you think you can withstand the double turn? Can you move in such a way that the double turn might not be as advantageous for your opponent? I have had cases where I could have taken the double turn, but I would have lost a lot of defensive buffs. In which case, I don't want to take the double turn. I don't want to have to reroll those spells. I don't want to reroll those prayers. I want to keep them, survive another turn, and then try to counteract on it. So it very much depends on what army you are playing and what your opponent is playing as well. Yeah, I completely agree with Dolamy. I find it a nice balancing mechanic because you can't just go all out all of a sudden. You need to take into account that you might get double turned. And if you do, then, well, you might lose a lot of your army from that, or lose an objective from that. Yeah, probably. That can be a very big reason for it as well, yeah. And I will freely admit that I had problems with the double turn when I started my Age of Sigmar journey as well. Ik ben gezellig mee aan het praten met de chat.
Object is burn. Moet je erop staan. Voor mij niet. Dat ze niet daar staan. Wat hebben we gisteren gehoord? We gaan er toen vandaag. Dat is even vraag.
Day control.
Ja, dus ook al staan ze niet op,
Kunnen ze gewoon burnen. Dus dan is het een random lekkie die bij...
dat is gewoon, dat ding gaat ineens poep.
Because it's Age of Sigmar and there's magic.
Ja.
There's magic in the air.
Yes.
Ik stond al wat 3 plus.
Yeah, honestly, I play a very elite army, so I don't know a lot about maneuvering hordes except for thundering forward and trying to survive.
The game's over officially.
Okay,
31-18 for the Boneplitterz.
that's a surprisingly close score, to be honest.
Yeah, really, it's more than not more than double, but almost. But you expected the points difference to be bigger?
Somewhat, because it really felt like Benjamin was really taking it over, and
I
think things could have gone a bit faster, but yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, but Benjamin is amazing with his spacing.
The Fyreslayers actually won on the secondaries because they had 10.
Yeah. Wait, Tom won?
Yeah, on the secondaries.
Only secondaries?
Yeah,
or?
he had more. That is to say, he had more points on secondaries than Benjamin did, but Benjamin had way more points on the primary.
Okay. So Benjamin has 31.
Yeah, Benjamin has 31 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's it, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all there's left to do now is for people to submit all their scores, and once that's done, we can have awards and announce our winners.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the stream on break again. We're gonna stream the awards live on Facebook. I'll be doing that nice and mobile with my mobile.
Fair enough.
Yep. So guys, everybody, thanks for watching this stream. We've had a blast streaming. We hope you had a blast watching. Our next event, I'm gonna give some shout outs. I'm gonna put us back on.
Well, I believe our
Booth camp. There you go.
next Age of Sigmar event is in September, isn't it?
Let me check out our events.
Or are we planning one before that time? Could be the case.
Let's go over to the Alliance Open.
Because I do remember talking about it with Martijn and Peter and CJ.
Yeah.
About possibly doing maybe some smaller events here and there. Spread them out a bit more, give people more opportunity instead of having to commit to one weekend.
Yeah.
Might be an option.
That's true. Yeah. After this, we still have the team tournament, 40k team tournament going down.
Right. Yeah.
Here we go. So events. So our next tournament is the Alliance Open Team Championships in the 25th of April. Then we have also Allied Annihilation, the 25th of April. And after that we have the Hanseatic Alliance Open, the 3rd of October. And 27th of November we have our annual Dutch Grand Tournament. That's the 40k flagship event. So do we have some more Age of Sigmar coming up?
We are talking about that also because of the change in venue and the growth that 40k has. It just takes up so much space that if we would do a Age of Sigmar event at the same time as a 40k event, we would have nearly no space for it. So we're trying to figure out if maybe we can get a day where we would fill up the space with Age of Sigmar, maybe Legion, and some of those smaller games, and turn it into more of a smaller event.
Like a sort of small con.
Pretty much, and give Age of Sigmar also a chance to grow at its tournament scene, because I do think that there are a lot of small hobby groups here and there that are reaching out slowly, but still finding their feet within the community. And I think that if we can include those, that we can reach a lot of players.
I think so too. I think you're quite right in saying that there are a lot of players out there that have their own groups and they're playing, but they're not quite aware of these events that we're having.
Yeah.
And I think once we reach out to those people, we can draw in more players. And Age of Sigmar has already slowly been growing. Like it's 40 players and like a new record for these events here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, because last time we had like somewhere between 20 and 25 or something.
Yeah, last time was the doubles event for which we had 16 teams.
So 32.
So 32 players.
So that's a double. And usually, at a double, you have like twice the number of players because it's easy to put 4 people on one table.
Yeah.
But so now 40 people actually for singles is quite a lot then.
Yeah. We have with this event we've been the biggest in the Netherlands so far, just about, but we made it. And we really hope to keep those numbers growing to the point where maybe we won't be overreached anymore.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome. I also would like to see maybe other tournament organizers given the opportunity to organize bigger AOS events. I think it's just good for the community.
Yes. I mean, these events are always a blast. Got lots of people coming. Lots of people get to play the game. Lots of people, everybody knows everybody, and it's always a good atmosphere. It's a good way to spend your weekends, honestly. So more Age of Sigmar, I say, more 40k, more of everything. But especially more Age of Sigmar, because Age of Sigmar is like it needs to grow a little, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and of course it's also uncomparable with 40k. 40k has been around for what, nearly 40 years by now, and probably tournament scene for about 20-25 years.
Yeah.
Whereas Age of Sigmar has only existed for the last 5 years. So it's not odd that there is such a so much smaller community, especially with a lot of the fantasy players just being like, I don't want to play this, which is fine, their choice. But I do feel like that held the Age of Sigmar community back for a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I could be. Yeah.
But people, I am finding, are slowly starting to warm up, especially with some of their armies slowly starting to be reintroduced in some way. The old elves coming back in the form of the Lumineth Realm Lords, the goblins getting their own book, the Cities of Sigmar, all of that old stuff being put into a book.
Goblins get a new book?
Well, the Gloomspite kids, they had the book, right?
Oh, but that was a while ago, right?
Yeah, that was a while ago, but
so all the old armies that didn't have a book are now. Don't they all now have a book?
Seraphon technically has a book, but it's kind of from when it came out, like 5 years ago. But they have been confirmed to get a.
So the book is one of the oldest, probably then.
Yeah, by far.
But I feel like Seraphon have always been pretty good. They can all fly and stuff like that, and they can summon more, and they can.
It's going to be interesting what the new book is going to do for them, because it has been confirmed, and we can expect them in about a month.
Yeah. Sweet.
So it's going to be interesting what it brings to the table.
Exciting times.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of releases in a short time as well, because through some stuff we also had the Gargants, the Giants, the Sons of Behemoth, being pretty much leaked.
The what?
The Sons of Behemoth, which are the Gargants, the Giants. So the Giants are pretty much getting their own army, which is going to be interesting. Like, what is that going to do? I've talked to a lot of people about it within international communities as well, and no one has any idea, like, what is this going to entail for the game and for their army specifically.
Like a giant army?
How awesome would that be? 12, just putting 12 models down and like, this is my army.
12.
Yeah. They are going to be the Imperial Knights of Age of Sigmar, if you want to draw comparison.
Sweet. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. Sweet. I'm gonna wait until that book comes out. See if it's any good. Play it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that a lot of Lizard players, if that book turns out to be good enough, I think that a lot of old Lizardman players.
There's always new books coming out, you know?
Yeah.
New hotness.
Yeah, I
can't keep up.
No, literally.
I'm being buried on a new books and models. I have to play all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Like, we've had so many releases over the last 2 years especially. We were waiting on a completely different book, and all of a sudden GW were like, here, have Skaven and Flesh Eater Courts.
Yeah.
And people were like, wait, what? No one announced this.
Yeah.
No one knew about this.
Flesh Eater Courts were cool. Man, I love so much about it. Look, seriously, vampire counts and the Flesh Eater Courts, so cool, so fluffy. So much cool stuff to play, so little time though.
Yeah, that's always the problem. Time and money.
I've always loved like the whole necromancer. I like the Mortarks as well.
Yeah, those are really cool. I also really like that through lore and through the new Death armies that they expanded on the different Mortarks with Catacross, with Lady Olinder. It has given much more of a diversion.
Yes.
To
like different subfactions within the undead.
Yeah. But also just within lore, because previously all of the huge Death commanders were all from the old world. So Lady Olinder and Catacross were really the first Age of Sigmar lore heroes that have been introduced for that.
Yeah, because they were always there. They've just been raised from their slumber.
Exactly.
Yeah, super cool. Okay, well, guys, I'm gonna put it on pause for realsies now. Tune in there's
It's
still
gonna
20.
be-
Yeah, there's still 30 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a little bit of time because we're gonna do the awards at the same time as the 40K awards.
Oh, and they still have.
They still have a game to play after this, I
They still have a
believe.
game to play, so it'll be around what 6-ish before the awards come out.
Probably.
Yeah. So guys, if you want to see who won and what they get, and we got a raffle, and it's always quite cheery. Tune in at around 6, where we'll be streaming on Facebook alone, the awards and stuff. So GP, this wasn't the first. Well, was it the first GT for?
This
Age of
was
Sigmar?
officially the first GT for the Netherlands.
Yeah.
For Age of Sigmar.
You know what? Congratulations to you and us and all of us
Yes,
for
definitely.
the first grand tournament.
Yes.
There you go. It's a little milestone right there.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
And it's onwards and upwards.
definitely.
All right. So guys, thanks for joining. I've been Stefan and this has been Fabian. Thanks for joining me here on the stream because I know jack all about Age of Sigmar. So I was very glad I could just rapid fire questions whenever
very
I was
welcome.
wondering what was happening.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
And it's been very entertaining to see for me. I've learned a lot about Age of Sigmar, and next
to hear.
time you'll probably see me on the battlefield, just failing hard probably. But hey, there you go.
It's still fun. All is fun.
Yeah, all in fun. So guys, see you around. See you next time. Have a nice day.